Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Having a little technical difficulties on my end, but welcome to another edition, to another installment of Hashtag Faith to Black. I'm your host, Donnell Monte Morris, here with, once again, Anita Joe, aka Teach. How you doing?
Good morning, afternoon. I'm discombobulated.
Uh, and don't worry, I got discombobulated with the freaking Olympic. I got 2020 when it should be 2021, but yeah, Teach, it's going to be a very serious show. This is us bringing awareness to our fellow panelists, Siphiwe, and it's something that is not being talked about in the mainstream media, and we're going to bring attention to it on this show, and as well as black athletes and sports in general. Anything you want to add before we go into the opening statements, Teach?
No, not at this time. I'll reserve my comments when we get into the.
All right. All right. So let's go ahead and dive in to our opening statements. Teach, you got the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My opening statement is, what is a challenge? Sometimes challenges come into our lives and it makes us feel discouraged. Sometimes challenges come, and if we go within ourselves, it can make us feel encouraged. But sometimes the challenges seems like they're stacked up against you and there's just no way you can jump through it. And I remember one time, and I hope that you will understand me. I had a dream one time that I was in a building and there were sharpshooters, and I was in the stairwell and I was trying to get out of the stairwell because the sharpshooters, with the laser beam, they were trying to shoot me. And my mind said, there is a way out. So as I was trying to go down the stairwell was triggered with bombs that would sense my presence. And if they sensed my presence, it would explode. So I found myself not being able to go down. And I was thinking, like the man in the Matrix, when the bullets would come, I would sway this way and sway this way and so forth and so on. And I just kept remembering while I was dreaming that I'm not military. I'm not skilled at combat. But then I said within myself, if I can't go down the stairwell and I'm surrounded by sharpshooters, people that know how to hit their aim, there has to be a way for me to escape. So I said, either the floor is going to give out, or the ceiling is going to give out, or the walls are going to fall down in the building. But there was no way that any one of those sharpshooters were going to hit and kill me. There was no way that any one of those bombs that was designed to sense me would go off. The only thing I had in my mind was there was a way for me to escape against all of the odds. Because in the dream, it seemed inescapable. But I had that hope and determination within myself that I didn't care how sharp they shot, they weren't going to shoot me. I don't care how that bomb was going to detonate. It was going to implode upon itself and not hurt me. But this is the type of determination and encouragement that we all should have when we're faced with a challenge. That challenge gives us an opportunity to go inside ourselves and figure out another way. When no one else is there to help you and you only can rely upon yourself, when you see yourself in danger, You know you don't have the skills. You know I'm too old to drop and roll and all that. But the sheer will for me to come out safe was within me. It moved me to safety. And this is what I'm giving to Siphiwe. That sheer will to win and to overcome the obstacles is what going to allow him to compete in the 2021 Olympics. This judgment to not allow him to qualify after one, he filed the papers on time to qualify, and two, he had to enter into a competition, which he entered into, and he qualified. So other than that, there's no reason why he should be disqualified or prevented from entering into the Olympics. So Muzi to Siphiwe, it is within you, your sheer will, that's going to move you through this challenge and move you into the competition and winning and taking the gold. So, ladies and gentlemen, whenever there is a challenge, think about how bad you want it. Tell the universe, tell God anything that you pray to, intent to, desire. The elements in the atmosphere to open up and move in your behalf. He has an attorney. Let him be the sharpest attorney and present the best facts. And he'll be able to get his case reviewed successfully and enter in a timely manner. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my opening statement. When there seems there is no way, look within yourself and find the way.
Thank you for that, Teach. Now, these two gentlemen right here, we got over here, we got Mark Lamont Hill, and then right here, we got Judge Joe. Now, a lot of social media, YouTube, have actually been talking about this story. They actually been going crazy about it. And I want to shed some light on it. So, majority of social media is saying that Lamont Hill have been, he got steamrolled in this interview that Judge Joe Brown exposed him. Pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. Because majority of y'all who are saying those things, y'all already don't like this man. Y'all already got the devil. Y'all think that he's a part of the liberal elites, the ones that don't care about black people. But this man, if you look at this man's history, he has put more into black communities than you realize. Even though I don't believe in working in silence, and then when you passed away, we find out that you did all these great things. But then also at the same time, I get the same image where people always bark, I did this, I did that, just to say they did this and did that. But he put in his work. Were there times where he got into debates where he lost? Yes. But then there were debates where he triumphed. This right here, I don't see as a debate. I'm going to tell you why. Just like anybody that come on the show, including myself, that don't have an understanding of a certain subject or a certain thing, you're going to have that person who does have the expertise to explain it to you and make you understand. And that's what I've seen in this one. That's one part. The other part is not all black people is going to think alike. And we have to understand that. Sometimes it's hard for me to understand. It's sometimes hard for you to teach or anybody else on this panel, maybe even you, to understand that. Now, I'm not saying that not all skin folks are kinfolk. Nah, listen. In this interview, because I've seen it all from front to, from start to finish, including the middle. Judge Joe Brown, I mean, he's a judge for a reason, right? He basically laid out the law that the Supreme Court in Philadelphia, with them overturning Bill Cosby case, was part of the law. Even though Judge Joe Brown didn't have to call the rest of his loyal buddies, judge friends, and all that stuff, he was telling Lamont Hill the law. And Judge Joe Brown was right. But I saw where Lamont Hill was going with this argument. He was basically saying, what about the women? Unfortunately, who cares? Who cares? No disrespect to all the women there. Y'all already know my piece. But the law is the law. It was overturned then. Now, here's the other piece. There's a difference in being right and being right and going overboard. Now, everything else after Judge Joe Brown laid out what the law was, and then was talking about society and how it's been messed up, tricked, and all that. And I'm just sitting back, I'm like, where did this conversation went? Where has it gone? Like, I thought we were talking about the Bill Cosby case. What does society and all the other stuff got to do with it? Now, I watched Judge Joe Brown other interviews in the past. And this is after, I don't know if he's retired or semi-retired from his show, Judge Joe Brown. Y'all remember back in the 2000s and late 90s, he had a show called Judge Joe Brown, which y'all know, y'all had that aunt, you had that uncle, your mama, who always had to watch her stories. They always have to watch Judge Joe Brown or Divorce Court or Judge Judy. I mean, all these court shows, you have to watch it back to back to back to back to back. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know. But interview after interview, Judge Joe Brown's stuff that he's been saying, majority of it, I don't agree with. He's stuck back in his days. Y'all know that uncle, that the one every time y'all have a family reunion, he's up in the living room on the couch watching his Gunsmoke shows, and he sleep, and you try to watch the game, and he's sitting there saying, I'm watching that, knowing that it's still not done. And then I always gotta tell you how back in his day, men were men, and this is what happens if you were smart, and da 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 da. That's just your one right now. And he's at an age right now where he could care less how you feel about it. He's going to say it. But my issue is, just because you at that age where you can just say what you want, doesn't mean that you're right. But in this case of Bill Cosby, he is correct. But everything else after it wasn't even needed. It should have been, Lamont, now you know better now. And Lamont should have accepted it as is. He should have accepted it and should have been like, you know what? You're right, Judge. You are correct. You're right. It's up to the host to understand when they're wrong, even on their show. And that's what Lamont should have did. So in both cases, I see both of them, did something wrong in my eyes. If you actually watch the interview, not watch it just to see this man fall or just see this man just go senile. If you actually look at it, you will see that there was a part where Judge Joe Brown was wrong, And that was the part where Lamont Hill was wrong. Because you got people like Boyce Watkins who just want to clout chase over everything and just make this interview into something that is not. After he just got ripped to shreds by Kwame Brown because he stuck his nose in business that he didn't deserve. And y'all just don't understand, by doing this and making this into something that is not, it's making it worse for us to even take ourselves and have the world take us seriously. It was one man who just did not understand the law. And then you got another man who just set in his ways and just want to just say anything because he thinks it's right. I don't say think, he knows that it's right. So if you actually watched this interview, actually watched it, you wouldn't be on Twitter, YouTube, or anything sitting there saying, oh, Lamont Hill got himself old and da 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 da. You should actually watch the context of what the conversation is and what you got from it. Not just for you to just go on freaking YouTube or Twitter just to tweet how Lamont Hill got owned. Because you're making the situation worse, not only for yourself, but also us as a whole. And with that, that's my opening statement. We'll be right back. We are back. I apologize once again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going through some technical difficulties. For some reason, I'm looking on our YouTube and we're taking some time to go live. But hold on, let me get to the screen. So let's go ahead and jump into our panelist issues with what is going on with the Olympics. So just to give everybody up to speed of what is actually going on. So they're basically disqualifying Siphiwe for basically what is the reason why they disqualified him? Because I'm trying to find a way to, we can come up with theories, but why?
From what I've read, this mumbo jumbo jargon, they said something to the effect of he didn't meet the qualifying time deadlines, and of which I also read that they met the paperwork deadline. You have to apply for the position or submit your paperwork by a certain deadline. I understand that they submit their paperwork, I believe, 3 days before the deadline. And then he asked the athlete also has to participate in a qualifying swim meet, which he did, and have the qualifying time. So he qualified by doing the swim meet. If you remember, a few weeks ago, he had to go to Egypt and compete at the meet there. He did compete and he did win, and those were also submitted by the deadline. Now he also brings up the case that there were 4 white guys that did not pass the deadline, did not meet the deadline, but yet they were admitted. They weren't disqualified. So I think it's more to it than they're saying. I believe one issue is that Guinea-Bissau is a small African nation. Probably they don't even know the country exists. And the fact that he would also be competing for this country, and he has, just as good a chance as anybody else of winning. I believe they're looking at the fact that this country is coming from nowhere specifically. They're coming from nowhere. They got a good swimmer. They have an opportunity to win. We can't have this. I think another underlying issue that's not being clearly stated is the fact that he, was a United States citizen, and fairly recently he received his citizenship from Guinea-Bissau. So the United States and all their power, or the powers that can be, may feel like that's a slap in the face from them to quote unquote get citizenship and actually compete, find themselves as a competitor against the United States, place of their former citizenship. But I believe he has dual citizenship, so I don't know if he had to denounce his United States citizenship. I don't know if the United States allow him to have dual citizenship. So that's a gray area for me. I don't want to, say he has dual citizenship when it's not clearly defined, or I don't clearly know in this particular matter the laws governing the United States of America. So I see there's a lot of things. And then the last thing I think is just simply his age. I don't believe there is an age limit, but again, that could be a gray area. But normally, when you think of the Olympics, you think of the young, and it could be the way the council or the panel may say, "Oh, this old dude come and beat these little 18 and 20-year-olds. Oh, we can't have that." So his very presence in so many different ways can be an upset to the status quo of the quote unquote Olympics. Now, had he been from Africa, it would be a totally different story.
Mhm.
But to come from America, come from a place that you have all the advantages, and you leave America to go from America to an African country, that's maybe in the minds of those that are see this as an issue, may see that it's backwards, because if you ever get around any group of Africans and be in any type of competition, especially from the European nations, when they have the football or soccer competitions, the people of the continent tend to say, if France won, they say, "Oh, that's a win for our country." And you ask, "Well, how so?" And the issue is that many French, Italian, Great Britain, they all do the same thing. They'll give citizenship to these athletes from a various African countries in order to give them the competitive edge and win for their country. So if Siphiwe was actually from Guinea-Bissau and he decided to swim for France, and France thought that they had a good chance to win, oh, he would not have been disqualified, because that would give France that competitive edge. But you see the reversal, he's coming from the great United States of America, the superpower of the world, and he's going to this little African country and giving them one an opportunity to compete in his capacity, and possibly give that little small country a win in the Olympics when they had not been known to participate in the Olympics in that category in years past. So historically, we're looking at um, we're looking at history being made in so many different ways. One with his age, one with coming from the United States and getting citizenship in the land of his forefathers that predate slavery. And so that's monumental in itself. And just when you hear the story of how the men in his families were great men who had mastered the water, it just seemed befitting that he uh, carry on that tradition and do it in a competitive way to be a win for his people. That's an awesome connection, and I'm emotionally tied to his story and would like to see that victory. I would like to see him overcome this particular challenge and be the mouthpiece of victory for his family, returning to their roots in a monumental way in Guinea-Bissau.
I, you know how much I don't like conspiracy theories, but I'm gonna have to put on the tinfoil hat right here. Let me go ahead and put it on right now. I believe that the Olympics, or whoever the powers that be, I think they did research on Siphiwe. I think they saw his activism. I think they probably watched clips of this show, of his views and how he sees his people. And then I also say it's another factor too as well. You got the other factor of, you know, Guinea-Bissau, because you touched on it. Guinea-Bissau is a small little country, you know, on the coast of Africa. And that a man like Siphiwe, who gave up his citizenship, I don't know for sure, like you teach, I don't know for sure he got dual citizenship or he gave up his United States citizenship just to become a permanent citizen for the Guinea-Bissau. But to have somebody like Siphiwe to represent them in the Olympics and to do what he do can really uplift a country and can have them be more competitive. That Siphiwe is the one that kicked the doors open for them to say, hey, if Siphiwe can do it, I can do it too. Which bring attention to that country, which increased the tourism. And then people, because you've been preaching on the show too, teach about doing a DNA test to understand your ancestry, and people finding out that their lineage comes from Guinea-Bissau. So I was really thinking about it in those type of ways, because it couldn't be anything else. Because if he followed the guidelines, if he did he qualified, he did the drug test, and he came up, negative of all drugs or whatever they're trying to find. I mean, he goes to meetings on time, or whatever the Olympics have in line for all the swimmers to do, all the guidelines, all the policies. And if Siphiwe is following all of them, including the country and their committee that is behind Siphiwe, following all the guidelines and checking the blocks, then what is the issue? Then what is stopping him? I mean, I just, like I said, everything has to deal with race, period. Everything has to deal with race. And it goes back to what you said, Teach, and I didn't even thought about that, because if he would have, represented a country in Africa, definitely definitely the countries that are funded by China, that are backed by China's loans, yeah, he will be up in there hook, line, and sinker. Or if he were representing the United States, hook, line, and sinker. He's there, no problems, no issues. If there were issues, the United States already got a team already handling it, and just as much as what it was out there, just as quick as it's quiet. It never comes up again. And so I don't understand the struggle it is for people like Siphiwe. I don't understand that. I don't get it.
Well,
because
Siphiwe is not alone. Siphiwe
yeah.
is alone. Even Gabby Douglas said that you would think that only Simone Biles was competing in the Olympics, but there's so many Black women and men that are competing this year. They're not getting the media coverage. They're getting a media shutout.
Yeah.
So In
And,
that
yeah.
regard, Siphiwe has plenty of company. And like he expressed today in the chat room, he's getting interviews from all over the world, but
Hmm.
he's not getting that American press. He is
Oh
not
no.
getting that American press, and that's why I was scratching my head as to who we could contact to get his story out there. And I've contacted Roland Martin. I contacted Trevor Noah. And then after the fact, I had to run around doing my duties today. I thought about contacting one correspondent that I know that works for the BBC, and he
Mhm.
works in New York, but it is for the British Broadcasting Network. But if he could get the story out, or if he has contacts within the American system, maybe he could call in a favor with a fellow journalist and get it out in the American media. So I'm thinking of ways to overcome this challenge
Yeah.
and to give to highlight, what he's going through, because I would hate for him to have done all that he has done and it comes and goes and nobody even knows.
Yeah.
And that's
And
the
yeah.
tragedy, that's the tragedy of it, because and the reason why I'm so vested is, one, because he's a fellow panelist, and
Mhm.
two, it really speaks much when it comes to that DNA and that DNA personality, because as he researched his family, he realized he came from a family of men that were masters of the water. And for him to have that DNA trait to master the water, that just lets you know how you retain your Africanness, how he retained his Africanness, the skill and talent that is transmitted from generation to generation was instilled in him spiritually, etherically. And it's just an awesome story that supports why African Americans should, in fact, and indeed, obtain their DNA test. Even I believe Oprah Winfrey, when she did her DNA test, she also researched some of her family background and found out that she had women in her family that exhibited the same skills that she possessed in her life. So these things are important for us to be able to tap into who we truly are and what skills come with us on that family tree.
Uh, yeah. I'm just, it just sickens me because also going on to what you were saying, there was a Olympic star. Her hashtag is not her hashtag, but Gabby. She's one of the Olympic stars that is over there now, and she was telling everybody like, "Hey, when the Shikari incident happened, she was like, there's other black athletes that need that support, and the media's not covering it.
Mhm.
We're here. You know, Shikari's not the only one over here competing. What happened to her, yes, it's wrong. It's tragic, but we're here. We're still here. We still need y'all support. We still need y'all to tune in. So I don't know if Siphiwe, and knowing Siphiwe, we know Siphiwe, and anybody else who's watching the show, you know Siphiwe. He probably got with them, talked with them, like, hey, they trying to shun me out from competing. Y'all getting just shunned out for not getting covered. And so I know that right now they're probably creating a coalition right now, and eventually the United States is going to have to say something. They're going to have to mention something, even if they're late in the in the get go.
Well,
They're gonna have to say something.
you know what I think? One of the reasons why I believe the African American athletes are being shut out in the media is because over the years, and you have to admit this, once a black win in a certain category, they tend to dominate and take over. They tend to dominate and take over. And so it becomes, well, if we don't cover them, then we'll pretend that they're not there. We can raise awareness for our people, and hopefully our people will win. And then you have a competition, and then a little black girl or little black boy come up and win, and it's an upset. And then that's when the black people will get on the bandwagon and make a situation go viral when that person wins. And that's what I believe was going to happen in Siphiwe's case. That as long as he, trying to raise money, trying to get there, people are turning a deaf ear. But once he wins, everybody wants to be on the bandwagon. And that's why I've been telling my friends, this is my friend. This is a man that has worked as a co-panelist. So if I know him, you know him by association. So sign the petition, give some money, and help him make it, And it boils me to no end when I see a fellow friend raise money for a multi-billion-dollar company. Those people have money. And the money you raise, they have a way of not even getting to the company because you're not associated with the company. They may not even like you. They'll allow all that money to be raised, and that third-party host will just sit there and hold it because the company itself can say, stop this fundraiser. We don't want their money. Mm-hmm. And they won't refund it back. They won't refund it back. So you think you've done a good thing, and you haven't. So when there's someone near and dear to your heart, we should open up our pockets. We have the money in our pockets, and we can do this. We can do this. But if we don't support our own, there's no support. Money and off the sky.
Yeah. Which leads to black people in sports in general. I'm not just talking about football. I'm not just talking about basketball. I'm talking about sports in general. Because I forgot what show that I did this on, where I explained when black people started to come into sports, when they started allowing black people to play, people started to resonate with sports. Like I still ask this question: who else talk about sports beyond, like, before the 60s? I'm gonna be nice. Before the 60s and 70s, sports heyday was in the freaking 70s. Definitely the NFL, because NFL just completed the merger with the AFL, and you got all these black athletes playing on defense and offense that people can name from their favorite football teams back in the day, which leads on to today, where predominantly you got 70% of the players are black. Like at one time in baseball, predominantly there was, I would say, about 60% of the baseball players are black, but then black people not tuning in baseball anymore as they used to. I'm talking about when Jackie Robinson or Hank Aaron, rest his soul, and also Jackie Robinson, rest his soul as well, or the Negro Leagues. But it seems like when you got these players making millions of dollars and not understanding that sports too has roots in racism, because it took me to understand Jack Johnson's story. And remember in the James Brown movie, Get On Up, where he was literally in what's called a lottery or something like, I forgot what it's called. For anybody who hasn't watched the movie or watched the movie, you saw a part where young little James Brown was in a ring with his one arm tied behind his back. He had one arm with a boxing glove, and he was blindfolded. And basically, when he was told go, they would swing, and they will basically just knock out each other until somebody's left, and they win a little bit of money. But it was for the entertainment of the rich elites during that time. And then also Jack Johnson, who I think is the greatest boxer of all time, even over Muhammad Ali. I said it. Come at me. He did that in Texas when he was small. So what I'm saying is, even with the NFL, baseball, all the sports, it stemmed from the elites watching African Americans going at it for each other and making money. Well, mainly for their entertainment. Now, a lot of y'all going to come back. Y'all say, well, back in the day, baseball, the mob bet on the World Series for the what was it, for the White Sox. I think the White Sox. I don't know. I don't know for sure. I would look that up, but I knew it was a World Series that was rigged. But what was the entertainment in that without African Americans? Where was it? Then they saw the speed, the agility of the American Negro. We need to put them in the sport. Because if we got one, then here come them all. And now you got sports as we know it. And there was a book decades ago where it says like $40 million Negro. No, not $40 million Negro. No, it just say Negro. I apologize. I think it says $40 million slave, I believe. And it's basically based upon the athlete, the black athlete today. Basically saying that just because you paid all this money, you still a slave to the system. You still a slave. Because a lot of people, one thing that really kind of pissed me off, but I understand where they're coming from, is when they tell people like LeBron James or other athletes, why do you stay in the league? You got all this money. Why don't y'all create your own league? It ticks me off when they say that, because you got some of them that plays the game. LeBron James, let's be real, he plays the game. And then you got others who want to do it, but they are so worried about securing the bag for their families that they put themselves in a situation where they're like, look, I understand what's going on. Only thing I do is give money, but we're not ready to create a league yet. And then also you got to think about the elites themselves. Because when you control not only just the game, you control the field, you control the stadium, you control everything outside the stadium. So if me and Teach want to start our own news network, we already know that the powers that be like CNN or Fox News, News Corp that owns them, would try to find any way to stop us. They can have somebody that look like us infiltrate our operations, or they know somebody that knows somebody if we try to get a building to stop us from getting the lease. So yes, I am ticked off that you got athletes that plays the game or they just too scared. But then I understand the people over top of them that's writing their paychecks, if they get wind of it, back to slavery times again, they will find a way to stop them. They will find ways to punish them. So I just want to, get on that point. But anything you want to add, teacher, or anything you want to say?
Yeah, that's not such an easy thing to do because we had the Negro League. Okay, we had the Negro League. And basically, when they say start your own league, they're basically saying go back to the Negro Leagues. But why did they dissolve the Negro Leagues? Why were there the Negro Leagues in the first place? They had the Negro Leagues because they weren't admitted into the mainstream leagues. Once they began to be admitted into the mainstream leagues, that eroded the need to have a Negro League. So for them to organize their own league with in their minds and the minds of the people that it is a second class league, that everybody is still going to go for the mainstream league. And basically the people that say that, they're saying, okay, we want our white boys to have a chance to compete because like baseball, you all came and took over. Basketball, you came and took over. Football, you came and took over. They're expanding into hockey. They took over in tennis and so forth and so on. So they're constantly trying to find a space that is non-black. And blacks are constantly trying to find a space to fulfill the role of diversity in the United States of America. So it's not so simple to say, oh, let's just have a Negro League or an alternate league. It has so many repercussions. And our nation is not even mentally ready to accept anything from black people. And I'll give you a case in point. It was a movie, it was a parody, but the movie was Soul Plane. All right.
Mm.
Instead of showing that African Americans can run an airline, they showed everything possibly that could go wrong or a reason why you wouldn't want to take the Soul Plane. Okay? They won't even show it in a positive light. And we ourselves, myself included, when I watched the movie, I'm like, yep, that's right. You know, there are inadequacies within our community that we're willing to just laugh at instead of correct and make better. Um, Things can be socially isolated, like the fact that it's owned and operated by blacks is reason why whites will not patronize and other blacks will not patronize. So if they were to organize a Negro League in basketball, the attendance would be low. The average ticket purchaser would figure they need to get a 2-for-1 discount. They wouldn't want to pay the same price if they were going to the regular basketball game or the regular football game or the regular baseball game. So it would cheapen it. It would cheapen the sport. And then, of course, they would come out with, oh, you're second string because you playing for the Negro League because they can't pay you the high salaries that the other leagues can pay. So it might be a good idea in theory. It may sound good to some ears, but history tells us that it really would not be a good move.
Yeah.
Even to the point, and I'll give you an extended view of this. Football is very big in Africa, and they have their leagues, and they love football. But if an African is drafted to go play for France, then that player is celebrated. He's not even celebrated in his own country, and he's in that professional league. So he doesn't become anybody until he's drafted or picked up by a white country. So just to show you how we treat each other. Well, oh, he's just a footballer. Actually, I met one. God forbid I remember his name. When I was in Ghana, he was a friend of the people that owned the hotel that I stayed in, and he would come and hang out with his friend. And so one Sunday, they were going to the beach, Titanic Beach in Ghana, and they said, "Well, come and go to the beach with us. We're going to spend all day and all night at the beach." And I'm like, "I don't have nothing to do," so I went and hung out with these little young dudes, and they were beautiful. Anyway, while the other young people were out there swimming, him and I we stayed back to watch their belongings, and that's what he intimated to me that he was a professional football player, and he played for the professional league in Ghana. And he explained the whole thing. He was a humble guy, but he explained the whole thing of being a professional footballer in Ghana is different. Had he gone to France or the UK or one of the other European nations, he would be a superstar, doing the same thing that he loved. And of course, he would have a greater salary. Now, if you ever seen any of the African football games, they're packed. They are packed. So you count those heads, you're like ching, ching, ching. But it's not so. They don't charge that much. So they get the attendance, but if they charge $5, it's not like they're charging for the NFL. How much do those tickets cost?
Woo! Like depending on your seats, I think the lowest is 50.
Okay, so look at a $45 difference, game after game after game. So they're not bringing in as much as they could based on their population. So there's a lot of things to consider uh, when you talk about getting your own league, and that's why I spoke earlier about the Olympics. That if Siphiwe was originally from Guinea-Bissau, and France needed that competitive edge, oh, they would have recruited him, gave him citizenship, and he would be on the French team.
Yeah.
Because they're going to scout for excellence. They're going to scout for someone that can give them the win. If a foreigner can give them a win over their homegrown people, they will do it. They will do it. Look at the Olympics and look at where the people are from. Usually they tell the story. They tell the story. And especially if they have an all black team, say France has an all black team, you mean no white people can qualify in France? But then when you look at the nationals, their nationality, oh, this man is from Gabon. This man is from Sierra Leone. Or this man is from the DRC.
Mm-hmm.
There's no natural born black French people that's on the team. They all came from Africa. You see? So
that's true. I didn't even realize that.
They're going to utilize them for that competitive edge. They're going to use the black body. They're going to use that black body whenever it is to their advantage. And Siphiwe's black body is not to the advantage of the United States of America. It is not to the advantage of any European nation. It's not to the advantage of any of the Asian teams. Think about it. Have you ever seen any blacks compete for China, Korea, Taiwan? Any of them? They got their own people. They're going to let their own people compete and win or lose. But the European nations are willing to use that black body so they can have that competitive edge, so they can win. Because all they care about is to win. Because they can win, they're like, oh, France gets the gold, and they can blot out the face of the person that won the gold. All they want, they can have the headlines with no picture. France wins the gold.
Mhm.
You
I
know,
think the
Italy
World
takes
Cup.
the bronze.
I think the World Cup was one. I think it was in Russia, and the French team won, and majority of the team was black. And the crazy thing was, Putin came up in there and they started singing to him. I think they were singing the French national anthem and all that stuff. He over there just smiling, laughing, shaking his hand. I'm sitting there like, hold up, wait a minute. Every time I look at France, it's rare that I see a brother or a sister speaking French or living in France. But to see your whole entire team, at least majority of them are black. And I'm like, and then what you were saying where they were from, you had some that was from Tanzania, you had some that were from Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa. I mean, all these other countries that's within Africa is like, hold up, wait a minute. Did they recently moved up there or what? But to believe it or not, that's the thing that's going on within the states too right now. You know, for example, in the rural areas of the South, where it's majority white, you got majority black people playing on their football team or their basketball team. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't think it's just happening internationally. It's happening in the states too as well. That's why when college scouts go out to draft all these players, they go to like the lowest of low income housing places, knowing that these young black kids who got the skill and they just want to get out the hood or get their families out the hood. That's why they go get them. Like Alabama, the reason why Alabama is going to be known as the greatest recruiting machine of this decade is because they go to these families and they bring them to a place called Alabama that's majority white, and why they always have a chance and sometimes win a national championship. So this also happens here in the States. But go ahead, Cheech. I see you was about to add something.
Oh no. Just tell me if my air conditioner is too loud. I had to turn it on. But
Oh,
anyway,
okay.
absolutely, yes, they will utilize the black body in
Yeah.
sports
Mm-hmm.
because they're looking for the win for the team. And if they can bring in um, a black body for the win, they would do that. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's why this whole process is suspect concerning Siphiwe. And I just read that Guinea-Bissau did not even have a swim team. So it looks like whatever category Siphiwe is going to be swimming in, he is the Guinea-Bissau team.
Oh wow. Oh wow. And so right there says a lot. I think and I still believe, and people can hold me to it. And I'm telling you what we're saying is striking a nerve. I just, well, I won't say I just, but I've been looking at our YouTube feed, and this is what it shows.
Can't see it.
Oh, it says no connection.
Oh no.
It says no connection. I'm gonna tell you why. Because when they do that, it's because they're blocking us. And I haven't got a email or a text or anything about that. But we're striking a nerve. And I'm still gonna upload this. I'm gonna put it on our one stream, and we're going to post this out to the world and have it be broadcast, because this needs to get out there, because we have our panelists that needs our help, and then we got athletes, not like Siphiwe, that needs a voice out there that's sitting there saying we're sick and tired of what is going on, not only just in Olympics, but in sports in general. We're not only just here for our entertainment. We got families that we got to feed too. We just can't stick to sports if our own community is burning down and injustice is going on. I don't care if that same police that killed that beat up that young man on the side of the street or just a routine traffic stop are good, he's cool with me and he's a fan of mine. I could care less. They need to see justice. And and teach once again the things that you told me from way back it's coming to me now because we get so totally confused and get taken off guard when I'm gonna use a cop for example. I'm gonna use that example of that athlete and that cop is a fan of that athlete. And let's say he took pictures with him and all that stuff. Where we get tempted by their kindness. Where it's like, he ain't do bad to me. And that's usually the answer. Like, well, that cop, every time I see that cop, he say hi to me, he comes over to my house or I go over to his house. Our wives are best friends. Our kids are best friends. It seems that's the only thing that we can use as an excuse. But then when the rubber hits the road, as the sergeant major would say to me, and that same thing happens to you, where you get pulled over, let's say you got a broken tail light, only thing the officer can say, well, you got a broken tail light, can let you off on the warning or give you a citation. Now all of a sudden, I smell weed. Get out the car. Hey, just step out the car. And now you're a victim of police brutality. And I think we just fall for, everybody loves me. They don't see my race. They just see me as an athlete. They know I love this area. I won them a championship, or at least I'm going to win a championship this year. Why do we keep falling for the okie doke every time? I know we're the most humble and most loving people on this face of this earth. But why do we keep falling for it? Why, when we know what the issue is, we continue to fall for it again and again and again?
Because we want to think that we are the exception to the rule. They give you that idea of inclusion, and you think, like you said, they get close to a few people, they treat them well, and it just changed their whole idea of you, and think that, oh, it's those other blacks, because now you're that one that's not associated with them. You're the one that's different. You're the one that is passing, and you're the one that is being accepted and everything. So they think, well, wow, they pulled me to their bosom. Like in your case, you're in the military and you are trained and you become brothers, and you think that it's right by you, and something happened, and ooh, that color line comes out, and you realize you fantasize about their friendship to you. You fantasize about being not that Negro. You fantasize because they were always clear. When their back is up against the wall and they have to choose race, they're not going to choose you. They will choose their race. No matter
And I see that in sports.
No matter what, how deep you thought their friendship goes, even in marriage, they're going to choose race, and it's a lesson that blacks never learn. I showed you that clip earlier with Anderson.
Yes.
On Blackish, about the little black girl in the elevator.
Yes.
And we talked about that on the show, But it was the reverse. We talked about that white man being in the elevator and
Mm-hmm.
how I was trained. If it's a white man in the elevator by himself, you don't go in there.
Yeah.
And I was, I totally agree with the show in this point, in this position, as far as that little white girl in the elevator.
Yeah.
And,
I,
and these are lessons that you absolutely have to know. And you can see how the lesson was taught man to man, generation to generation, and it skipped the woman. His wife was like, "Oh, you're the worst person in the world. You didn't help the little white girl." She hadn't been taught, because had she been taught, she would have been in her husband's court. Right, right. You leave that little white girl, don't touch her in the elevator. But they should have came back with a white woman in the elevator.
yeah.
Same scenario, but she grown and she giving it up for free. So the black man, he gonna go on and get in that elevator with the grown white woman. But she's the one that's really gonna cause the trouble. Ask Emmett Till.
Mm-hmm. Or ask that one elevator attendant for Tulsa, from Tulsa, Oklahoma, from Black Wall Street.
Mhm.
I mean, I actually, at first I seen it as being funny, but what really got me, what really really just stirred me up, it wasn't just the situation itself. When I'm situation where he saw the little white girl in the elevator, it was when one of the guys, one of the white dudes, said, "You should have done something. Like you should have did something." And then they use another reverse story saying that, "Oh, I understand," because I think Andy Anderson, his rebuttal was, "What happens if it was a young black girl and it was a white guy?" And he said something, and for some reason it pissed me off. It was just like, I say, y'all not realizing what you're saying, because him and his boss, I was like, y'all realize what y'all saying is racist, right? Y'all would be considered racist for saying, well, he should have did something, and not understanding Anthony Anderson and his two other co-workers that came in who had the same issues, and not understanding how they see it, you know? And that's what's missing in this world, is understanding. And when you're not understanding somebody else's point of view, you're not gonna understand anything else.
Well,
And for them, go ahead, Chief.
it's not even a matter of misunderstanding. It was choosing. It was a choice not to acknowledge the reality that was on the ground. Because you remember D.W. Griffith's film, Birth of a Nation, he was part of the KKK, and the whole redemption team, and the whole film was designed to make the black man look like this murderous rapist that was always looking for that white female, no matter how young, no matter how old. Okay, now that piece of propaganda became the normal thinking of the North and the South. Okay, so now in this clip, they want to pretend that that's not their thoughts. That's pretense. Okay, because that is the way they think. Black men are monsters. And this is why we have this whole issue with police brutality, that in fact and indeed they're monsters and murderers and guilty first. Therefore, we will shoot first and ask questions later. And you can see those same police officers get into a shootout with a white person, and that white person goes home to their family. I seen one the other day where the officer walked up to the car, and the man, he pointed the gun at the officer.
I think I know you talked about. I see that video too.
Yeah, he pointed the gun at the officer
Mm-hmm.
because he knew his rights, and so forth and so on. And then drove off. suit. You know, that officer wasn't in danger of his life. He didn't empty his clip into that white man because it's a pretense. They pretend for every scenario. They pretend so they can always look good in every scenario. If it's with a black person, the pretense is, I thought he had a gun. If it's with a white officer, oh, he's my brother. I can identify him. Or if he's younger, that's my son or that's my nephew. Or if he's older, that's my father. I can't shoot my son, my brother, my nephew. But the black man, he's a monster. I can shoot him because he loves to rape our little girls. And that's that, I always talk about that reverse projectionism. It was always the white man that raped.
Yeah. That's a real monster.
Right.
What's that? What's that Bible verse where they said the one thing the devil, the trick, the biggest trick that the devil did in the world was made them believe that he didn't exist or something like that.
Right.
I think I said that right, but just saying that just kind of got me goosebumps over here because it's true. Mm-hmm. I mean, the biggest Jedi mind trick that ever happened to us, and that's when you got people that look like us that will come up to the forefront and tell athletes and just tell us it's racism, but it's a figment of your imagination. You know, you got to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You got to, if you want to do something, you got to own it. And still, I say this too. Just because you want us to create our own, create our own schools or create our own league or all that stuff, it does not expel us from racism.
Right.
It doesn't. We can sit there and say we're going to create our own. And Black Wall Street and all the chocolate cities back in the day proves that.
Right.
Because if us creating our own schools, institutions, and all that stuff, our own infrastructure, and doing that means that we can stand up to corporations like Wells Fargo or to YouTube, to Facebook, and all that stuff, we will have more those chocolate cities not only will still be here today, but there will be a lot more of them thriving today. They will be the ones, we will be the mainstream. BET will be the MTV. Freaking even though I'm not a Chevy fan, General Motors will be like the actual thing driven around here and all that stuff. I mean, so many things. And then wearing hoodies wouldn't be shown as you being a thug. And all these gangs wouldn't be gangs. They would be corporations, business owners. I mean, if you could just think about all the things that are bad, but if all those chocolate cities were still around, there would be corporations, big business, minus the drugs. They'll all be businesses or establishments that we all know and love that's been passed down from generation to generation, and we wouldn't be worried about generational wealth. There'd be enough money to go around to all families. And so it's just crazy to just see that the craziness and all that stuff are still going on to this day. But T, just going to be a short show. So any other points before we go to our final points?
Yes, I wanted to show this. Oh my goodness. I'm sending you a link, and I think James Baldwin said it the best. This is a conversation he had on the Paul Weiss show. Hold on just 1 second, and I'm going to get it to you.
Discover BetMGM Casino and leap into
my goodness, my screens are just popping up all over the place.
Oh, snap. Hold on, let me see if I can.
Okay, I got it here. Here's
Mhm.
the link. But this particular video clip, I believe he speaks for us yesterday as well as today. And if things does not change, this conversation will speak to us tomorrow. And this is James Baldwin and Dick Cavett.
Okay. Hopefully it goes through because my internet is
Oh,
pretty slow. Hold on, let me see.
but in essence, he breaks down the two views between blacks and whites in America and the ideals of America and the reality of America. And that's what was being shown in that clip with Mr. Anderson on Blackish. And this is what we're talking about here today.
All right. Oh, let me go ahead and share this. Let me see.
And I just love James Baldwin. They said a person is in love until they die, until they're dead. And I believe this is true and indicative of him because when you read his works and you go back and you see his interviews, he he was spot on. His finger was on the pulse.
Oh yeah, I actually watched that movie. I'm Not Your Negro, and I actually saw it. I was like, oh, this is very compelling. Like
Mhm.
things that I was actually thinking a little bit, but he took it real. He went deep with it, where it just make you just think like, oh wow. But yeah, but here we go.
Okay.
I'm gonna flick it through. Okay.
Okay. You said earlier that YouTube was not cooperating with you, and it seems
Yeah,
so. It seems so. So, ladies and
yeah.
gentlemen, if you have an opportunity, just go to YouTube and type in James Baldwin interview uh, on the Dick Cavett show, and it'll come up for you. But he speaks very profoundly of the two ideals, but the ideals and the reality in America as you know concerning discrimination, how the white man views himself and the ideals that he put out. But the reality is that the white man does not operate in his ideals. They say, come work for us, but they won't hire them. They say everything is equal, but I can't get along. They say that I have every opportunity, but yet I'm redlined. I can't live where I want to live. I can't earn what I want to earn. So if you get an opportunity, you can go and watch that interview because it is very enlightening of where we are today in terms of race relations.
Yeah. So my 5 point is Siphiwe, we got your back, man. We're going to keep putting this out. We're gonna keep bringing it up on our shows, even if it's not the main topic. You are going to compete in the Tokyo Olympics. You're going to compete, and you too. You probably blocked me, but guess what? I'm gonna come back 10 times harder, and we're gonna talk about this, and we're gonna get Superway and Guinea-Bissau to be represented for the Olympics, and have him swim and win a bronze, silver, or gold. But we want him to bring back the gold. For me, if he can bring something back, I'm proud of him, and I'd be happy with that. Thank y'all for tuning in. Teach.
I would say keep the faith, seek the way, know that your ancestors are behind you, and know that we're doing whatever we can to keep your name in our mouth. So our friends we become familiar with you, those that are in a position of power or have that one connection that we need for you to blow up on the American media, then this is our prayer. Don't give up. Don't give up, and it may be the last hour or the 13th hour that you get that decision. So continue to train wholeheartedly. Don't let the wind out of your sail. Keep going just keep going until you win the gold. We're behind you. Don't be discouraged. Hold your head up and know that you're fighting a good fight.
Thank you so much, Teach, for that. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our show on Friday. We go probably gonna have a special guest on. I just reached out to her. I put it in the comments for you, Teach. Well, we talked about it message board. I'll talk to you more about it tomorrow. But we will be for Soul Friday, the popular Soul and newly named Soul Friday. Is going to be a great one. Hopefully, we will have everybody from male to even Beach Johnson. Beach Johnson right now, he's at an event for his independent artist movement. Hopefully that he's having a great concert and that they're getting the word out there. But other than that, as for Ania Joe, aka Teach, and me as your extreme guest down at Monte Moores, thank y'all for tuning in for this non-commercial show presented by Real Cheddar Boy Popcorn. Y'all have a good one. Catch y'all later. See y'all on Friday. Bye. Catch y'all later.